Digging into the heart of the Transylvanian Alps, a remote region of central Romania, is Ken Jones, a former British paratrooper in search of a holiday with a difference.
I think I'm quite a nomadic person. I tend to spend quite a lot of time on my own.
In the summer, this wild landscape would be teeming with hikers. But in mid-January, the snow and sub-freezing temperatures mean few people are brave enough to venture alone into these unforgiving mountains.
I became aware of just more or less having the whole mountain range to myself. It was a nice feeling, but it was kind of scary as well. You become aware of your own smallness.
Normally, it's a 2-day climb to the top of the mountain. But super-fit ex-army man Ken has challenged himself to conquer it in a single day.
Me and my brothers were always really competitive. We'd always race each other to the bus stop each morning, and on the way to school, everything was a race. I do like the feeling of my body working and functioning well, and I soon found a good rhythm. I'm a fanatical lover of freedom. And sometimes you just got to put yourself out on your own, just to enjoy a different kind of peace.
Ken's made light work of the lower slopes. But hazardous terrain ahead threatens his ambitious bid for the summit.
There was a ramp. It was a really steep wall, so I needed to rely heavily on my crampons and my ice axe. And that was pretty tricky. At one point, I got halfway up, and I just slipped.
The fall serves as a warning. The mountain is treacherous, but Ken is determined to keep going. Ken retraces his steps and soon passes the point of his slip. With effort comes reward. His choice of extreme location is starting to pay off.
All of a sudden, there was just a noise from the top of a mountain. At first, I thought it was something like an animal. It was so strange and unearthly. I'd never heard anything like it before. And then I realized that this is an avalanche. I was transfixed. I'd never seen an avalanche before. In a way, it's perverse. I just wanted to look at it. I should have turned and run, but it's just something so big and magnificent.
But Ken has no time to lose. Each passing second brings him closer to death.
I turned my back on it and run as fast into the forest as I could possibly make it. And all the time I could feel like it was chasing me. My heart was beating, it was just going crazy. It was going to hit me, bury me. I thought I was going to die.
Ken dives to safety in the nick of time, and the avalanche is funneled down the firebreak.
It would have definitely killed me without a doubt. I was pretty shaken for a while. And then when I realized I was safe and I calmed down, then I just started to laugh.
He's had a narrow escape, but he's still in danger. The snow on these upper slopes is unstable.
After the avalanche, I began to feel really vulnerable on the slope. I need to find somewhere safe to sleep. So I wanted to drop down, get deeper into the forest, sleep for the night, and still possibly be able to make an ascent the next day.
It's now a race to descend to safer ground before nightfall. But through the trees, the going quickly gets tough.
But the terrain became more treacherous. Branches were poking in my eye. It was becoming a bit of a nightmare.
The rough terrain and the slope of the mountain forces him back onto open ground. The mountain is about to show him how lethal it can be. This time it's on him in an instant. It's run or die.
I ran as fast and as frantically as I could. I was running for my life. And then the next thing I knew, it pulled me off my feet. I was utterly terrified. It swallows you and engulfs you. You can feel all your bones and organs inside, everything's rattling. All of a sudden, I was falling. And then I was thinking, this is really bad. I landed on my ass and I heard a massive crack. And that was my pelvis shattering and the head of my femur snapping off. I must have lost consciousness. I lay there, not knowing what was happening, or where I was. I couldn't really feel anything. It was dark.
The fall has inflicted a bloody gash to his head. But Ken is about to discover that his body has suffered a far more deadly blow.
The pain finally hit me. It was absolute agony. It was like a red-hot poke was just being pushed into the side of my leg.
The impact has broken his femur and smashed his hip joint through his pelvis, shattering it to pieces. Bone fragments have severed blood vessels around the pelvis, causing internal bleeding and making his core body temperature plummet. In this extreme environment, his injuries could prove fatal. Ken knows it's bad, but is unaware of the full extent of the damage.
I sat up and started assessing my situation. As I put my hand to the side of my leg, my left hand felt wet and sticky, and I got a big open wound on a couple of inches on the side of my left hip. It was bleeding quite heavily.
He needs to act quickly to prevent further loss of blood, which could harm his chances of survival.
I managed to force myself to roll on my side. Pulled a first field dressing from my pocket. And that seemed to stem a flow of blood. And after I dressed it, I pulled my trousers back up and I decided not to look at it again. My natural instinct was to get up and walk. My leg was in pain, but I wasn't sure if it was broken. I felt a jolt of agonizing pain shoot up my leg, and it became apparent that there was no way in hell I could walk. My leg was gone. It was a pretty desperate situation.
He's in urgent need of medical attention, but he's 8 miles from the nearest village and has no mobile or satellite phone. With military discipline, he's packed for the harsh conditions, but the avalanche has torn off his backpack and buried it further up the mountain.
I was deprived of all my provisions, my sleeping bag, my stove, my meals, everything I needed to survive.
Nobody knows where Ken is or the danger he's in. If he's to cheat death, the stamina and self-reliance that brought him here must now get him out. But he faces a tough dilemma. Go up in the vain hope of finding his life-saving kit, or conserve precious time and energy and descend in search of help.
It was a real tough decision to know what to do. The implications of making the wrong decision were deadly.
He then spots his torch, which has fallen from his backpack and miraculously turned itself on.
This torch was now my best means of survival. If I could get the torch, and I'd possibly have a chance, even if it's a small one, of finding my other items of kit. I'd have a bit more food, I'd have a sleeping bag. It was a small distance, but it was so painful and so difficult to cover the ground.
Ken finds his hat and a waterproof sack before eventually salvaging his torch. But hopes of recovering his backpack and sleeping bag are futile. His route is blocked by a vertical ledge.
Under normal conditions, I could have negotiated it effortlessly. But like this, it was impossible. When daylight did arrive, it was overwhelming. It was such a relief. And the darkness can bring all this paranoia, and with the daylight I realised I could do something.
In the early hours of a cold mid-January morning, the chances of anyone being in this inhospitable wilderness are remote. Ken only has himself to rely on, but the enormity of the task ahead preys on his mind, and he can't help hoping for rescue.
I kind of had it in my mind. Maybe emergency services would be called out. I imagined a helicopter or a couple of mountain rescue guys just walking through the forest blowing a whistle. I imagined all these little scenarios, but the more I thought about them, I just dismissed them. I was pinning so much hopes on so many slight what-ifs.
After a brutal crawl along the valley floor, Ken finally reaches the river.
The banks were higher than the water level, so it was kind of hard for me to reach down and get access to the water. So I had the idea of tying the ends of my shoelaces around the neck of a bottle. The relief on my mouth was blissful. It was like petrol going into a car. I just felt my body reviving, being full of energy again. Transylvania is full of bears and wolves, and as the day was drawing to a close, I began to panic. I was so out in the open, still far away from the trees. I was scared, and I'd try and crawl as fast as I possibly could.
He makes it to cover, but the scent of his blood-soaked body and his weakened state makes him easy prey.
I was really hungry, cold, dehydrated. I think it affected me. I wasn't sure if I was hallucinating or hearing things. I really believed I was hearing packs of wolves surrounding me. I was convinced I could see eyes just looking at me. I'd just sit there panting, like breathing heavily, really scared, just waiting for them to attack me. I just thought, this is going to be horrible. Just being eaten's horrible, but to be eaten alive is just something else. I woke up the next morning and I just thought, oh, you're not dying. You're still here. And it's like my body wanted to stay alive. I'd come to a standstill the night before and a heavy snowfall had landed on me and totally cocooned my body, and I think it must have kept me alive and kept me warm. And I decided to start crawling again.
His shattered hip means every move is pure torture. Only his incredible fitness and superhuman reserves of willpower drive him on. In spite of the pain, he's confident the worst is over.
It'd be stupid to even conceive of it getting more difficult. I've just got to get to the track. It's not going to be far away. One big final effort today, and you know, I'll be safe. Throughout this ordeal, it was just such a vital mission not to get my jacket wet. And again, I knew if that got wet, I was dead.
His jacket and thermal top must come off. If they get soaked, he'll freeze on the other side. But by taking them off, he's increasing the risk of hypothermia, which could kill him.
I was left with no other choice. It was a matter of being patient and being careful, and I just had to get across.
With his severe injuries, Ken takes tiny hops on his good leg, letting the current carry his broken limb. One false move, and he could quickly freeze to death.
All of a sudden, I became aware of my boot becoming loose, and before I could react, my boot come off my foot.
His boot is swept away by the river, and the foot on his good leg is now exposed. He makes it to the bank, but with a 3-mile crawl through the snow ahead, frostbite is guaranteed.
And my first thought was, I'm going to lose my foot. I'm going to get frostbite. I just thought, oh God, what am I going to do now? And eventually I turned a corner and I saw a light spill through the trees. And it brought a smile to my face. I just thought, I've done it, and just realised what an honest, faithful servant your body is. And I just felt really proud of myself then. I knew I'd got a strong heart and character and I could get through things. Fought for my life, and there was no sadness or bitterness towards the mountain or anything that happened. I'd made it back, and it was just so comforting to be with someone and realise that it all come to an end. I was safe.
Pioneering surgery repaired his hip and leg, but Ken lost 4 toes to frostbite. 2.5 years after the accident, he was finally able to walk again.
So few people get the opportunity to learn about themselves so intimately, and I feel privileged to have had to face such struggles to get where I am now, and I'd say that's a good thing.
Ken is now fighting fit and is hoping to one day compete in the challenging Tour de France.
Ain't that a sight?
Best friends and mountaineering partners, Jim Davidson and Mike Price, are fulfilling a dream. To climb Mount Rainier, one of the highest mountains in the US.
It's gonna be a crazy, mad day. You ready?
Let's do it, Jim.
Let's do it, bro.
The two men have been climbing together for 4 years.
I first met Mike in 1986. We were both going to Colorado State University. We had a like mind and a similar love for the mountains.
As Jim and Mike have scaled mountains all over the US, their friendship has grown deeper.
Mike had a great deal of mountaineering experience. I looked up to him as a better climber than I, more experienced.
But Mount Rainier will put their climbing partnership to the ultimate test. As they plan to scale the fearsome Liberty Ridge.
I think what excited both of us was it was going to be a step up in our friendship and our partnership.
On the third morning of their trek, they're ready for the final leg of their trip, up to the 14,000-foot summit.
Climbing fosters very intense relationships. We experience the difficulties, we experience the rewards, and you're sharing it with one person who you like and whom you trust a great deal.
For Jim, this is his toughest climbing challenge yet. But being attached to his far more experienced friend, Mike, means he's in safe hands.
You okay, Jim?
Oh, man. This is tough.
Just check your balance a little.
I would look at the climb and go, wow, I don't know if I can do this. It looks a little steep, a little scary.
I can't do it, bro.
Just come over a little.
And Mike would gently push me forward.
You're doing good.
I thought, well, if Mike thinks I can do it, then I probably can.
Mike's expert leadership means that their final push to the summit goes without a hitch.
Woo! Just as I pulled myself onto the ice cap, Mike was sitting down with a big grin on it.
Welcome to Liberty Cap. I don't want you thinking about a nice, cool beer. Hey, lay off.
But Jim and Mike are also aware that they must stay alert. They know that hidden just under the snow, the landscape is a minefield of cracks and gullies, the worst of which are huge crevasses.
All of the glaciers on Rainier have crevasses, these big cracks in the ice. Sometimes they're open and you can see them, and sometimes they're hidden over with snow.
And as the hours pass, the risk of crevasses increases.
The sun softens the snow, weakens the ice. That can make the route itself more likely to collapse.
But Jim knows that being attached to his friend by a rope means that if he does fall, Mike will dig in and use his body weight to save him.
They're literally holding your life in their hands.
All right. It's a little deeper here.
Okay.
And that creates a very intense bond and a very intense friendship.
It's been a close call, and Jim now realizes that real danger is lurking all around them.
I probed the ground in front of me, and it felt solid.
Take it easy now, Jim.
Yeah, we're good.
And I stepped forward and sank up to my ankle in the snow.
Whoa.
And I probed a second step. And my ice axe felt solid, so I stepped forward.
No, we're good.
My face smashed up against the snow. And I realized I wasn't going to be able to stop myself. I yelled, "Falling!" swung my arms and legs around in the darkness. And I realized this is a big crevasse.
If Mike can't get a grip in the slushy snow, then nothing can stop them both plunging to their deaths.
It seemed to progress very slowly. I had time to think about what was happening and what might happen and how we were going to land. It was just absolute sheer terror. I was tied to Mike, so I thought in another second or so the rope will get tight and catch me.
As Jim speeds downwards, he knows Mike only has a few feet left to dig in and break his fall.
I thought 10 feet, 20 feet, 40 feet. Mike should have caught me by now. And I put my hand out, and I could hear how fast I was moving by the high, screaming pitch of the nylon glove dragging on the wall in the darkness. And when I swished around, it felt kind of empty, and I realized that my wrist loop had slipped off my hand. My eyesight's gone now. There's no way I can stop myself. Then my brain told me that I'd fallen 50 feet. I thought, no, that can't be right. If I'm in 50 feet, and there's 50 feet of rope between me and Mike, that means he's right at the lip of the crevasse. And I'm going so fast now, he's gonna have a heck of a time catching me. And I thought, come on, Mike, dig in, dig in. Because I knew that he was getting close to the edge. I felt the rope jerk once and then go slack. And at first I was confused. I didn't know what that meant. I was stunned for a second or two.
Jim is completely trapped and is unable to move.
I could feel the weight pushing down on my body. I can't believe it. I survived that fall, and now I'm buried alive.
He has only a tiny pocket of air around him and will suffocate in minutes.
You really can't control the fear. It just surges up. I couldn't see that I was going to be able to get out of the snow. I was probably felt truly helpless at that point. Now I just have to sit here and wait for the end of my life when my oxygen runs out.
In desperation, he summons every last atom of strength to try and find a way out.
I try to focus all my mental power and physical power in just my right hand. I pushed with all my strength just on one spot, just pushing my right arm up.
Jim has survived, but there's no sign of Mike.
Mike! Say something, buddy!
And I heard his breathing get more labored and more labored.
Mike, answer me, buddy!
I started digging at the snow faster.
Say something, buddy!
I heard Mike exhale once, and then he didn't inhale. And I thought, no. It can't be that he's not breathing. I must have just missed the sound of him inhaling and exhaling.
Mikey, stay with me, buddy. Mikey! Mikey!
couldn't quite believe what was in front of me, but I had to accept the reality. I had to accept that he wasn't breathing, and I had to do something about it.
Stay with me, buddy.
Mike!
I didn't get any response. I could just feel this surge of fear boiling up inside me. They did one more check of pulse in his wrist and his neck and looked for breathing signs, and I saw none.
No. Come on, buddy, wake up. We're getting out of here. Come on, Mike! God damn you!
My hands started to shake, and my upper body started to shake, and the emotions started creeping up on me.
After 4 years and hundreds of hours climbing together, Jim has just lost his closest friend.
I just slumped my head against his chest, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes that my friend was gone.
Jim is alone, trapped 80 feet down a colossal crevasse. And without his climbing partner, his chances of escape have gone.
Somebody help
Now, I didn't know what that meant. I was afraid that I had some severe internal injury.
But one of his ice axes has been lost in the fall. If he doesn't find it, he'll never make it out. As he searches around, Jim makes a terrifying discovery. He and Mike have landed on a fragile snow bridge, likely to collapse at any minute.
We weren't on the bottom of the crevasse. We were stuck, partway down the crevasse.
But 10 feet below him, Jim spots something. The missing ice axe. He knows he's faced with an horrendous choice.
I'm not going deeper in this crevasse, where it's tighter, more dangerous, scary. If I go down there, I might not be able to come back up. I thought, there's no way I'm going down there. But when I thought about it, there was no other answer. I realized if I wanted any hope of climbing up, I had to go down there first. It took a lot of willpower to back over that edge and lower myself deeper into that crevasse.
A single mistake, the ice axe will be lost, and there'll be no way back for Jim.
Felt like I'd turned the tide a little bit, that now I was taking some action. I'm starting to fight back, perhaps.
But after climbing just 20 feet, Jim's adrenaline levels are falling. Each step harder than the last.
I hadn't eaten anything or drank anything in many, many hours now. And Mike and I were both exhausted from the 3.5 days of alpine climbing before the crevasse accident happened.
Weak and exhausted, Jim senses hope draining away.
I heard this little voice that, keep going. I could see him in my mind's eye just saying, you can do this.
Check your balance a little.
I felt that he was still sort of remotely coaching me, if you will.
You're doing good.
And it wasn't goodbye yet. We were still in this together.
Doing real good there, man.
Jim has to constantly climb back down to retrieve his ice screws, costing him precious time and energy. After 65 feet and hours of hell, Jim's made it to the overhang. It's the only thing standing between him and the lip of the crevasse.
I knew I was close.
But to get past it and get out alive, he must risk everything.
Now I had a severe problem. I couldn't reach past the lip.
I can't do it, bro.
Just come over a little.
And I thought, I have to do it. I've got no choice.
Jim's only option is to try to haul himself over the edge of the overhang. If he makes one single mistake, he'll fall to his death.
I've made it. I've secured myself to the upper screw. And I took my ice axe off the lower screw so that I could hang onto it. I realized I had just made a huge error.
Jim has broken a climber's golden rule. He's attached himself to his chest instead of his waist.
The chest harness cinched down around my chest and squeezed the breath out of me. And some voice in my head was just screaming at me saying, it's all over. You're gonna die hanging from this ice screw. I was gasping for breaths. I would get one occasionally when I would get one ice tool in the wall. I could get a little weight off and I would get 2 breaths and then I would slip and slump back onto the sling and it would squeeze me tight again. I had to get off that ice screw.
Unless he can find one last surge of energy, Jim knows he has just seconds left to live.
looked back down at our ledge, some 60 feet below me now, I realized that I was really out there on the extreme edge of what I thought climbing could even be.
Finally, having achieved what seemed impossible just a matter of hours ago, Jim knows he has only 20 feet to the top and escape.
But I was so utterly exhausted from everything I'd done, I questioned if I was going to be able to have the strength to make that final run to the surface.
After more than 5 hours and 80 grueling feet, Jim reaches the surface. But unless he can get a firm grip on the treacherously thin snow, he could easily slide back into the crevasse.
I can't believe at the very last second I'm going to fall backwards, all the way back down to where I came from. I can't believe it's going to end like this. And this emotional voice in my mind was like screaming, "Do something." And this voice was pretty confident, said, "Just lunge." I looked back where I had last seen Mike just before the fall, and I could see where he was standing, and there was a very sharp groove in the snow that proved to me that Mike had dug in as hard as he could to catch my fall. And then I untied from the rope.
By finally untying the rope that connects him to Mike, Jim knows that he has fulfilled his duty to his best friend. And Mike's family will be able to take his body home.
All that emotion that had been trapped down inside me for over 5 hours just gushed out. And I just said out loud once, "I'm alive."
Hello!
Jim's cries for help are finally heard by 2 park rangers and some volunteers.
That's when I knew that I had been seen.
I'm up here!
And that help was on its way.
Mike Price's body was recovered the following day. And, thanks to him, Jim survived with only minor injuries. But before returning home to his wife, he had one last thing he had to do.
The last day when Mike and I were climbing together, we talked about coming off the mountain, maybe having a big steak and buying a couple beers. So I went into the bar. And I ordered 2 beers. One for me, one for Mike.
Thanks.
And I sat there and drank them both.
Since the accident, Jim's never lost his love of the mountains. He now teaches new climbers to respect the power of nature. And each year, on June the 21st, Jim makes a special climb to celebrate the life and times he and his friend spent in the mountains.